A good episode of Two Smooth Operators, the only podcast about gate operator life for technicians.
All right.
Your hosts, Michael Brooks and Robert Evers. Stay tuned for another great episode.
Oh,
That's cool.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like how
up?
what's going on. I like how Mark and Mary. I like how he always promises it's going to be a good episode.
You never know with us. It's unpredictable.
Yeah, that's it. So, hey, everybody, how's it going? I'll be watching the chat. So if y'all got any loop questions or sign questions for the first 15 minutes for Mark and Mary, make sure you put them in the chat. So Mark and Mary, Mr. Old Man and a beautiful young woman. I don't know how that happened. I guess he must have a lot of money or something like that. So you guys are in the sign and the decal business.
Yep.
And I've been to y'all's shop there in California. We actually did a class there. We put some gate operator in. And you guys have a really...
I never knew what a gate operator was till I saw that. Never knew. I thought someone stood there and opened the gate. No, I'm just
that was the operator.
Yeah.
she was the hired gate operator tech there.
Exactly.
just wear a big hat.
So just real quickly, you guys had a couple things go on with your gate here recently, and we got Brian Dixon coming on. He'll maybe be able to answer some of the things that happened. But what happened there recently with that gate operator, Mark?
Well, we were blowing a 20 amp fuse, and I gave you a call.
That's a good one. I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I was going to have to make which I wouldn't complain, a late night trip to
California.
I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily complain about that, but the cause of that it happened twice, correct? Before we figured it out.
Well, it happened. I mean, we blew the fuse. Of course, we can manually open the gate, with the foot pedal and it. I mean, the automatic panel is so easy to look at, even though we're not experts, but it says if flashing, fuse is blown, right? Okay, well that's easy. Pull the fuse out, it's blown. So we just I called you just to let you know what we were running across before we got into a lot of troubleshooting, and you said, well, check, roll it back and forth and see if it's hanging up any place. And it was, a bolt had loosened up and the little bracket that holds it on the bar had kicked out, and the gate was tilting, and it was just catchy. Not enough to just slam it shut, but enough that it would put pressure on it and blow the fuse. But I guess that's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, as opposed to damage it. Robert, I can't think of the last time I've blown one of the DC fuses for the motor. Have you ever had that happen?
Well, only time is like obstruction, like what he just said. Yeah. The hanger was hanging up on the rail, and it loosened up. So what I normally do is I tighten them down pretty good, and then put a set screw in the bracket, and then let it roll.
We actually took and ground off the sharp corners.
Yeah, you can do that too.
Ground off that bracket and then tightened it all up so that if it hit, at least it would get by instead of jamming. Yeah.
As in regards to a set screw, this is all about signs, by the way. I thought it'd be pertinent.
I'm learning about this. I didn't know.
I thought it'd be pertinent to our viewers, for people in the real world and having gate operator issues. But Robert, that set screw on those, you're drilling that in yourself, right? It doesn't already have a set screw.
You have to drill it in yourself, yeah. Okay. What I would do is get it tight. Don't over tighten it. Sometimes you could put washers behind the wheel to get the gate further away from the track.
Gotcha.
And then
gotcha. So it doesn't grab on the pipe as easy.
Yeah, that's what I do in all my roll gates like that. And then set screw on it, tighten it, make sure everything's straight, and then let it roll. And then you should get like, and then what Mark just said, he grinded it down a little bit more so it clears. So that's a good thing to do.
For people,
since it's been several weeks, so everything's working the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
It worked exactly like it's supposed to. It blew the fuse. That's exactly what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. It caused you.
Some people can be a little mechanical, so we didn't have to pay the service charge to have Brooks come all the way out.
I was thinking the only thing that came across my head was $500. All right, plus
you can fly me out for $1,200.
There you go.
Hey, you can stay at our house. We got a guest room.
We can do that.
So that's
for free.
That takes care of room and board. So it's just been a straight $500 then.
Yeah, we feed you.
That actually turned out to be a pretty good install. Other than the rain, we pretty much had to do 60% of the class inside.
That was the only 5 days that it rained in Southern California.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Yeah.
The sun came out.
That's right. Just a real quick tip for anybody that's out there that has these types of fuse issues. The fuse that we're talking about is the ATC style fuse, and they do make those in a resettable fuse. The only time that I really use those is when a customer has a problem that I can't figure out, and it's an inexpensive enough fix to, like, if we're going like once every 3 months and having to reset the fuse, it's a lot cheaper than a service call. So the fuses are like $17 and I charge $35 for them. So if anybody's out there that's either an end user or an installer, you need to carry those on you. That sometimes they can be a good upgrade. I mean, you make $15 off of it and you're already there. But sometimes you just have a problem that you can't justify selling them a whole new control board and then trying to figure out the problem. All right, so that's enough about gate operator stuff. You guys are in the sign and the decal business, and I say decal specifically not to offend anybody, but
Oh, you mean to say stickers?
Stickers, yeah. That's actually what I put in the title. I was hoping that Mark would catch that, but yeah, stickers. So there is a difference between stickers and decal, but the story of JC Gury is actually pretty interesting. And Mary, why don't you tell us a little bit about JC Gury and how it all started out with you getting involved in the sign business?
Well, there's a picture of my dad, my wonderful, amazing dad, my mentor. He taught me everything I know and about signs and business. He bought JC Gury in 1970, and he was just a sales company, and then we slowly turned it into manufacturing in the garage, and we got a small place. Then my mom and my brother and me and my dad were out there punching holes, sheeting aluminum. We started, we did all the work, the labor. Got things out, slowly grew. I got married and had kids and left for 5 years and came back to a bigger facility, and he'd bought a lot of equipment, printing machines, all kinds of stuff. And
the building.
And he bought the building and grew with a lot of employees. We got a lot more out. He just was very smart about how we worked everything, laid all the production out, loved sales, loved people. So he did an awful lot of trade shows. They got to call him Trade Show Joe because all the different industries, we make signs for not only gate operators and fencing, but also security, porta potty signs and decals all over the country and in Canada. And he did all the trade shows, took me to a lot of them. My daughter was working there for 20 years in sales and order desk. And we traveled, met a lot of people, and that's how we got our name out there. And now things are changing, like magazine ads aren't really... People don't do that anymore. Now it's Google, podcasts. We still do trade shows. It's real important to be out there, out of sight, out of mind. And my dad has always said signage, decals is the cheapest form of advertising. Invest in that, and your people are going to have your name and number, and they're going to call you, and you're going to get business.
Yeah, where can you get advertising that lasts, 10 years, 7 years for $3, $4? That's in front of somebody's face.
Yeah.
If they want to see it, it's on a product. So if it's on a fence or it's on a gate, it's like, okay, your name is right there. I mean, it really pays to, like on your gate operator signs, there's a lot of generic that we do for the manufacturers, a lot of manufacturers. But a lot of companies now are adding their name to them. And so there's that advertising every time somebody pulls up to the gate or pulls out, their exit and enter, your name is in front of their face. So if somebody, if it's a residence, they sell the house, your name's still there.
Well,
on the operator or on the gate.
For gate operator techs, that's the big one, is making sure that when they sell that house in 3 to 5 years, which is generally an average time that people live in their homes, they have the gate operator was the last thing that the real estate agent, the home inspector, or the new buyer was even thinking about. So without your sticker on there, you're losing a customer because they're just going to start all over. So here's a good test, guys. All right, Robert, are you putting stickers on all your gate operators and all your fences, or signs on all your fences?
I used but I haven't been in lately. So I need to buy some.
Maybe I'll call Amber and she'll order them.
Is that one of those things, Robert, that us as small business owners, is it just complacency that we forget to do it?
No, that's laziness. I have done it. I bought the stickers and they didn't last. Matter of fact, I was at a gate call. Yeah, so I was at a gate call the other day, and the stickers that I put on about 10 years ago, or probably it's probably been about 10 years. It was totally like
white.
Gone. I mean, it weren't even there hardly. And I was thinking I need a decal from JC Gury and sign. So I'm gonna get some made up here shortly once I plane out good.
I want to say on the gate operator signs, my dad did those years and years ago. I don't know, I'm going to say at least 30. And we did it for a lot of the, the big manufacturers. And it was a very standard 8.5 by 11 sign, DASMA approved. And then people started getting the idea, well, can we make it bigger and put our name and number on it? And I'd say in the last 5 years, it's been changing and getting maybe a 9 by 12, 9 by 14. And people want their logo and their name on it. So that's kind of changing now. But we still do the generic ones. And we also, some manufacturers get them in Spanish and French or 2 sides. So we're very versatile depending on your need and what you want. So.
And they're built to last. That's the difference between a digital printer where you can go to Fast Signs and get something really fast, or, Vista Print or whatever. But that's all digital. It's all dye-based inks. They tend to break down very fast, and I've got examples on our Facebook page that show gate operator signs that are 2 years old and they're white. Our signs 4 years, 5 years down the road are still almost new.
Or longer.
Yeah, they'll last longer. We just don't guarantee that, but that they definitely last way out there.
Oh yeah.
Well, you guys said, if you want to talk about this, I'm not trying to make anything political. You guys make the gate operator signs for several manufacturers that actually have the UL325 warning on there. And you just mentioned that the signs that you do are DASMA approved. Have you guys had any experience with anybody saying that you need to do this with your UL signs or anything like that?
Well, funny you should ask, Michael. We did years ago. My dad was approached about that, and UL wanted to come in. They kind of looked at stuff, and they decided they wanted to take over, tell my dad how to print the signs, what kind of ink, what he should do, what kind of material. My dad told him in not so nice words, "Get your blank out of my business, and I will not pay you anything."
$40,000,
yeah, or more. They just he goes, "You're not telling me how to run my business and make my signs." He kicked him out. So, and there was one customer that did want a UL printed on the sign, and we told them we wouldn't do it. It was one engineer that was hooked in on it. Anyway, they ended up looking around. Nobody did, so they ended up coming back and ordering from us anyway, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy the way these things are trying to get everything the same way, and none of them are the same. But
our signs do meet UL325 requirements, because
they do.
The manufacturers, Door King, Maximum Controls, we do
high security,
nice high security.
Nice.
We do a lot more than that for the manufacturers. Thousands and thousands a month that we just just got a PO, and we just ship to them. They tell us what they want to meet UL325, and we print.
And we just print it.
So,
Wow.
I mean, it changed a few words recently, which didn't really change the meaning of the sign, but it met the requirements.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Keeping up.
And for you guys out there, this is actually a decal that Mark and Mary gave me as a sample that I put on the gate operator, the U.S. Automatic Patriot at the Finch University. And that's actually a sticker. That's not a sign. And the signs that they make like this are just bulletproof. But the important thing that I wanted to tell you guys is that even the decals, just like the signs, you can get this to meet those standards and then put your freaking phone number on the bottom. Those are just automatic home runs. You will be surprised at how many referrals and how many leads you get, especially in markets like Dallas, where you'll go down one alley and you'll have 70, 80, 90% of the homes have gate operators. And if you just had that one thing, I think it would help out. So Mary, tell us what's going on in this picture right here. What's this all about?
Well, that's how we first start out. Those are coils of aluminum. That's the beginning of your sign. That's thousands of aluminum pounds of aluminum. Yeah. We put them on a coiler. We sheet them out and flatten them out so we can print on them. So it starts like that in the yard.
It comes with our base formula paint, so that all of our inks and stuff will stick on them. So
and print really well.
It's all custom.
White on both sides.
Yeah.
And way in the background behind the forklift is where they actually uncoil the coils and flatten them out. And then there's a tray to the left of the forklift. Those are the sheets cut out, ready for various jobs to be printed. So then
we're still manual. We don't. We haven't got to that level of being able to spend $100,000 or $150,000 on a sheeter, but it's all manual sheeting, right?
We're a small business, but
I was watching a video that Shane Catton did in your booth at FenceTech, and I think he was mentioning something about reflective signs as well too.
Absolutely.
So you guys do that. And
we have a few gate operator customers who have ordered reflective already.
Yeah.
They cost more, but they show up in the night and people see.
And the fence industry, it used to be security they're the ones who used our reflective product. And then it started catching on, and it was Jared Twist at Ranch Fence, who was the OG of reflective for the fence industry. And that was back in like 2002. And so he went to that, and it has really taken off into like the last 5 years.
Yes.
We've got so many fence guys that are using
and
the
gate
reflective.
Operators as well.
Gate operator, right? But it's just it's a retro reflective, so that it actually takes light shining on it. It doesn't glow in the dark.
Yeah.
And then light hits that, and woof, I mean, you can't miss it.
Robert, have you ever been out to their facility in California?
Oh no, I've never been to California.
No, you got to come out this way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm in Carolina, so.
Yeah. I've never been there.
We'll have to make sure that that we get out there, maybe do a podcast from there or something.
Yeah, we love that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Gary's a fence guy, gate operator guy. He's actually been to the Finch University, and he said, "Love my signs. Thank you." He's a really good guy.
We appreciate the business.
We do.
So that's only part of it. But Robert, the reason why I was saying that is like you might have an appreciation for it because it has nothing to do with the fact that you could do things faster. It has everything to do with the quality. All the stuff that they're doing. Oh, yeah. I mean, like from punching the holes to all that stuff is manual operation. Very precise and very cool. I wanted to show this little video of the way that it actually looks like in the shop. And this is after those rolls of aluminum have been cut. What, Mark, explain a little bit about that process. Where are we at? So we've already got
the Mylar lamination process right here. So we're putting a polyester film, which is basically a plastic coating.
Adhesive.
It's laminated on, so there's an adhesive, but it's a plastic coating that actually is resistant to scratches. It adds additional UV protection. It's something nobody else does.
And it adds longevity.
You can see right there, you can see the plastic or the polyester film that is being, with those high pressure rollers, is applying that to the actual signs. They'll be shear cut later into individual signs, but this is something nobody else does. Digital printers can't do this. They can do a liquid lamination, better than nothing, but it does not last. This holds up to grease. Especially for operators and stuff, you get grease, oil, grime on any of our stuff that's laminated, it just wipes off. It doesn't take the ink off. This just adds like 3 more years to the life of the sign normally.
This is standard, what we do to all aluminum signs. And we also have a higher grade of lamination called Tough Coat that adds even more life. Costs a little bit more, but it adds even more durability. And notice there it's 5 up, so we printed on the screen 5 signs at a time, and they get laminated and cut. So there are quite a few processes go through before it goes out the door to our customers.
Is that being scored on that machine as well too?
No, it's not being scored, but Emma is definitely scoring it right there between the sheets.
Cutting lamination. Scoring is actually a process that we use for decals when we score
on the backside.
On the back of the paper, so it's set at a certain length, and that way it scores them in half, so you can peel the backing paper and apply your decal.
Yeah,
that's what scoring actually is.
Yeah, okay. These are all aluminum signs, so there is no scoring basically, because the sign is
aluminum.
Unless it's got a foam back on it, right? Yeah, the sign is the sign, but we'll laminate a foam back on these, but those are easy to peel off. But yeah, there's no scoring involved on aluminum. So
I don't know if anyone knows what a foam back is. It's what we do is those signs right there, we would laminate a foam back material to the back side of the aluminum sign, and then we'll laminate it again, run it through again, and then we cut them, and then this foam back, when you get them and you peel the paper back on the tape, like right there, it will stick and you cannot get it off. Mark has made videos and our customers have come in and say, I want one of these. It took me an hour to get it off. So
90 pounds per square inch is the holding capacity of the foam back.
Many door people, that's a main item that they order.
Well, you guys actually been generous enough for the gate operator people to come up with some packages to help them get started. So call JC Gury for updated pricing. But this is one of the ones that I think is great for you guys that are just getting started out. It's 100 of these gate operator signs. It's 100 magnets, which people don't throw away, magnets and books. So you want to walk into your customer's facility and throw a magnet on their full file folder cabinet or on their refrigerator in their garage. And then, of course, foam back aluminum nameplates that we were talking about. But all of that stuff can be customized with color and all that good stuff. So who's the contact that we need to be calling if we want to submit our design and get pricing? What do we need to do?
We're just actually calling our office.
714-738-6650.
Anyone who answers the phone.
They're right on the desk. They can quote you, help you out. Right? Heidi, Ashley, Diane, or Lou will all be happy to help you.
Yeah, they won't be sending you.
That was Mark right after he had his knee replaced.
Hey, I got my new knee.
Good one, Michael. I'm glad you showed that.
How do we get a hold of this guy? What's his problem?
Behind the couch.
That guy died.
So,
he did. He's no longer around.
Say that. Don't.
Oh Lord.
God. Well, you put it on your Facebook page, so I thought it would be funny to share. But I think that for people that are out there that are thinking about, man, I like going to my barber because he knows what I like. I like going to my mechanic because I know how he's going to take care of it. He knows that my truck's off the road, I lose $1,200 that day. And that's exactly what you get with these signs. And this is an example of how you're part of the family. You guys have been integral with the Fence Workers Association and supporting them, as well as the Fence University, obviously by generously hosting class, buying lunch for all those guys, and allowing us to use your facility in the California market. So I think this just goes to show how it's can be a fun business like family atmosphere, and it doesn't have to be all business. So I thought that would be funny to show people that Mark is getting very, very old.
He's getting spoiled in there because I had to bring him all his food.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was kind of, well, to a certain degree, she was my Uber driver for 6 weeks.
Well, he's been milking it.
Oh man.
Because Mark, you drive all the time, huh?
No, we split it. We because of the Southern California commute that we have.
I drive in the morning,
and I drive at night. So we kind of split it up. But that was 7 weeks ago, and I could only drive.
You couldn't drive.
They only let me drive a week ago, so now I'm back driving. So
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Please let him drive.
Well, actually,
I don't need a co-pilot.
If you don't let him drive, you're gonna be sorry.
I didn't say that. I just said I don't need a backseat driver in the front seat next to me. You can get over now, dear. You know, we're going to get off of it. I know.
Well,
we drive 2 different ways.
Here's one of the guys that helped us out.
And moving over.
Brian's here now, so
yeah.
Hear our driving story.
She waits to the last. She flies up, waits to the last minute, and then.
Not always.
Well, you got a fast car now. You can do that.
Yeah,
that's right.
Here's one of the.
Brian.
Hi, Brian.
Here's one of the. This Brian helped us out in the class that we did at y'all school, but you guys have known each other forever. You're not too far away from each other, right?
Yeah.
No, man, if you haven't been to Brian's facility, you need to check it out. It's awesome.
Yeah, I've known Brian. You were just a wee lad almost.
Mm-hmm.
Brian?
Brian gave us a tour here a month or 2 ago. No, probably 2 months ago. Impressive place.
Yes.
Yeah.
You had one loop issue with your automatic gate operator out there. Well, it was a loop detector issue. Yeah. Did anything else ever pop up from that?
Never repeated.
What
we did was reset it and never had another problem.
I called Brian and told him that, and he was like, "I'll drive right over there right now." So, great customer service. I'm sure Brian can't do that with all of his customers, but it is nice to be right around the corner.
We are around the corner, right?
Mark, Mary, they can just go to jcgury.com and contact you. All right.
Yep.
Find us on Facebook.
Thank you so much for having us on.
Yep.
We appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for coming. That sign package for us, and I'll remind Robert at the end that he's got to buy.
I gotta get one.
All right, you guys.
See you guys later.
We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Brian Dixon is in the house, man. He's going to tell us about some loose stuff. You were helping me out with the class at Defense University the other day, and that was the first time that I got to sit through your class, at least if I've ever sat through it before. It's easily been 10 years. I mean, it's been a long time. And we learned some stuff. So how's it going, Brian?
It's going good. You're
in that Southern California area as well, too, right?
I am, yeah. Although this year I've just been everywhere. Just a couple weeks ago I was in Vegas. A week before that I was in Tampa. I got so much stuff going on. This year is crazy.
Well, awesome. I remember me trying to get you for some classes, and you're just like, "Oh, I got the 4th book. I can't be maybe 6. Could you do it on a Sunday morning? Maybe we could do it." Those types of things. But yeah, you've been pretty busy, Robert. Mm-hmm. You use I hand wrap a lot of my loops, and I always say this. It's kind of funny because my salespeople are stupid. Not to suggest that it has anything to do with them, but they rarely do they have a chance to learn about loops by going to these classes, which I think the salespeople need to go to. Actually, the salespeople might even benefit more than some of the technicians for those quick start classes. But I hand wrap a lot of my stuff because they'll say that you need, a 6x10 loop, and then you turn out that you need a 20x4 or something along those lines. And we're going to get into a little bit of whether you want accidentally a bigger or smaller loop and how to fix that. But are you using, Robert, are you using the sealant and the loops? And what saw are you using? How do you install them?
I got the sealant right there. I use BD loops. I use the saw cut loops for asphalt and concrete. And then for in-ground applications, I use the in-ground loops for that. And then they work great. Direct barrel, yeah. Direct barrel.
Yeah. How often are you using the direct barrel one?
It just depends on when the job comes up with that type of loop. So it's
so every time he can. That's the answer.
Yeah. Oh, is that the answer? That's the good salesperson answer. No, but let's say that you have. So for the most part, it's in new construction or when somebody's tearing out the driveway. Is that right, Robert?
Yeah.
That you would use. Okay. So let's say that you get all those jobs for a whole month. They're like that. Are there any times where you would just go saw cut them afterwards, or do you have any problems during the installation like I've had if you are doing direct burial?
Here's the catch. We had a problem with one because whenever it was put in 2 years ago, and I weren't there. My dad, he was the one was overseeing that one. He said they were running over it there a lot with the wheelbarrow, and we couldn't get there in time enough to do it properly. So we just threw it in there, and so they probably ran over it a couple times. And so 2 years would go by, and it failed. So and then he told me, he said when I told him what was wrong, he said, when I was there, they were running over it with the equipment stuff a lot back and forth because. And that one failed. That's the only one I ever had failed like that. So it's due to not buried in the ground properly. Because I like to get into the rock.
That was going to be my
and take a pick.
Yeah.
And pick it out about 4 or 5 inches and then bury it under the rock. And then you don't have to worry about ever being damaged by equipment after that point.
Direct burial loops, they're so much quicker, easier to install. You don't have to saw cut. They're less labor. They don't require expensive materials like loop sealant to seal it up. Any type of new concrete, new asphalt, gravels, pavers, all those types of applications, if you can get a direct burial loop in there, you should. It's just a better, easier method if you can.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to be out there, and yes, you need to make sure that the guys don't drive over it, like in that example you gave. But it's such a quicker, easier installation if you can.
Yeah. And then I got the one I did a couple of weeks ago out of mini storage. They were out there paving that day, so we were pick it out. First, I was like, man, we could just lay it on the ground. And I was like, no, they're coming back and forth with dump trucks, in and out. So let's go ahead and pick it out and then bury it, and then we're done. And then we left, and there was no problems with the loop because they were in under the rock. So it's kind of hard to mess them up.
So you use a pick, you go down the depth, the appropriate depth that you want to. What about for both of you, what are you doing with the yoke? And what are you doing for the home run in general? Are you putting that in conduit? Does the yoke need protection? Yeah. What do you do, Robert?
I run it. I put it in conduit from the loop itself. You do your loop with it, whatever 6x10, whatever, and then you run your conduit to your operator. Which sometimes you don't have to do that, but this was a mini storage and stuff, so I went ahead and just run a little bit of conduit for that loop
Yeah,
wire.
so
But
our direct burial loops, both the loop and lead-in section are rated for direct burial use. You don't have to run your loop lead-in through conduit, but conduit's an inexpensive way to add a lot of protection to that lead-in. And oftentimes that lead-in exits the roadway and gets in and softer where you got gardener shovels, edge blades, moles, like things that could find it and tear it up. Conduit just gives that little extra layer of protection to protect that lead-in for that run going back in the operator.
So, Brian, you actually sent me another picture that has where the yoke comes in. That's what my question to you, Robert, was. So, like, are you taking like a 1-inch conduit and then like putting the yoke all the way in there? And what are you doing about that part of it?
Yeah, you go all the way up to the yoke,
Okay.
but sometimes you may not be able to go all the way to the yoke. So pretty much wherever the end of when you're talking about direct burial, and you say it's asphalt, or you say it right there, but pretend that you could run your conduit there, but there's kind of no use after you go under it and all that, because when you go to cut it, you still gonna have to cut everything out anyways. So I don't go but like that far. You see how far that hole is right there?
Yeah.
That's like 6 inches in the under there. That's about what I would do with the conduit right there.
So, Brian,
just run it straight right there.
Brian, tell us what this is right here. It looks like you got a 90 coming up on it too.
Yeah, so this is a direct burial loop installed in a concrete pour, going to be in a concrete pour. You got your rebar, and you want to run your loop lead in underneath the rebar, preferably underneath the concrete form. Because, when they're removing that concrete form after the concrete's in place, they're not gentle. They're going in there with sharp objects. They're going with pickaxes, shovels, lots of sharp things, and you don't want them to find damage to the yoke or the lead-in for that matter. On the design of a BD direct burial loop, which at the yoke point, which is where it transitions from loop to lead-in, there's a 1/2-inch coupler that you can actually stub up your 1/2-inch conduit into that point. We designed it with that intent. So you can run that entire length of lead-in through conduit.
Did you, by any chance, do you remember if you sent me a picture of that specifically?
No, I did not send you a direct picture, but there are pictures of it on our website, so you can check it out there if you're curious.
Yeah.
BDloops.com.
BDloops.com. Check the products page and then click on direct burial loops.
And what I do right there is I would bury that under the rebar.
Right.
Or the middle wire if I had the opportunity. Sometimes you don't though. So sometimes you gotta put it there. And you also gave me the information of putting sand over top of your loop wire right there like that too to help protect.
Yeah, you don't want the loop surrounded by sharp rocks, right? You want it surrounded with soft sand, especially in direct burial applications.
Gotcha. So in theory, if you're like Robert was saying, if you're going to use a pickaxe and you've got like here, you've got some good inch stone, go ahead and use your pickaxe, put a layer of sand down, then put the loop in, and then put another layer of sand on top of that, and then just use your backfill. Okay. That's I didn't know about that. So here's the big complaint that I've got about this. So hand wrapping is one thing. Direct burial is completely different because it's new construction. So you really can fudge the size of it a lot. Is that you put it on top of the rebar, which is from the class I took a couple weeks ago, you were saying that that's ideal. However, what I learned is if you do go underneath the rebar, what do you have to do in order to compensate for the depth that you're going down?
Yeah, so remember, loops work by percentage of change. And so the closer you have the loop to the surface, the better it's going to perform because more of its detectable area is going to be penetrating the surface. So when a vehicle, regardless of its class, drives over that loop, it penetrates more of the fields. Because it's doing that, you get a better, stronger, more reliable detection. Since it works by percentage of change, and a loop's detection height is determined by its short leg. And when I'm referring to a short leg, that's like the 4-foot side of a 4x8 rectangle or a 6-foot side of a 6x10 rectangle. That short side determines how high of a field detection we get. So if we are going deeper, like even in gravel road installations where you're going possibly 7, 10, or even 14 inches in depth, you increase your short leg so you get a higher detection height. And how that works is
Yep.
just 2/3 of whatever the short leg is. There's a pretty big standard short leg in our industry of a 4-foot short leg.
Yeah.
4-foot short legs have a 32-inch detection height because 2/3 of 4 feet is 32 inches. But if you make that same loop in a 6x8 instead of a 4x8, that loop will now have a 4-foot detection height, which is setting up better to detect commercial vehicles. Or if you're going on the deeper end, it's going to get a higher field detection, so it performs better. My recommendation in regards to direct burial installation with rebar is always try to install on top, offset from the rebar pattern that's pictured there. And if you do have to go below it, which I don't really recommend doing if you can avoid to do so, but if you have to, then increase the short leg, make sure it has the proper detection height. Remember too that the EMF field that's being generated, you want as much of it to come above the surface as possible. If you got a lot of stationary metal above it, it will technically absorb more of the EMF fields, which will also negatively impact the sensitivity and performance of the system, but it can still technically work if you design it right.
With all due respect, that's just the way that I've got to do it. And so I'll have to get with you from here on out because by performance over 20 years, the ones that are direct burial like this do perform well. They don't perform any better, but they have longevity over than a hand wrap loop. So I'm going to have to get with you. But that's what I learned is, okay, if you're going 12 inches down, now on top of that, below the rebar, you've got two things that are working against you. So where I may do a 16x4, go to a 16x6, or maybe even a 16x8. What's my limitation there on the short leg?
2/3 your short leg is your detection height. The simple rule to remember and the key takeaway is 4-foot short legs are technically okay for residential vehicles. 6-foot short legs are good for raised commercial traffic. But if you got space to do so, always do a 6-foot short leg. And the max detection height you can actually get on a loop is with an 8-foot short leg. If you get an 8-foot short leg, that's the highest detection height you can get. So if you, in your example, if you did a 6x16 and made that into an 8x16, that is the highest detection height you can have on that loop. It would have the same detection height as a 9x16 or a 10x16.
Robert, what do you? The other thing is stock as well too. So the loop sealant, we don't use the BD loop sealant because of the way that we hand wrap them. Robert, what are you stocking as far as the number of tubes of sealant that you have and the number of loops that you have? Like right now, without them going to a specific job, do you have any preformed loops, whether they're direct burial or not?
Oh,
and
yeah.
then how much sealant do you actually
I keep the saw cuts in stock.
What size?
I got I use 6x12s
Gotcha.
or 16s, whatever it is, that size, and then I can adjust it however I want to. So most of the time when I'm replacing loops, it's at a place where they got commercial traffic coming through. So I like my 6-foot short lead, and then you got, like you said, you get more protection, more detection. I mean, from that. And that's what I keep probably about 4 or 5 in stock, and I go through them like every month. I had to
As
buy
far
some
as
more.
availability in stock, I got about 800 distributors all throughout the US and Canada that stock my product all over the place. And I ship same day on all loops, both standard and custom sizes. So if someone ever needs one of my 54 different standard sizes, 3:30 Pacific Standard Time for same day shipping. Need a custom? You need a 6x8 with 200 feet of lead in? Also same day shipping with noon cutoff time. That's 3:00 Eastern. No, there's no one else doing that.
What's that process like? Do I just go into an SAS or Control Products or Automatic Gate and Equipment Supply or one of the other distributors and say, hey, I need this loop, and as long as they call you by 3:30, okay, so I'm not calling you directly. I mean, other than maybe to check availability, but I'm still buying it through
No, I've never called BD Loop. It's always through
distributor.
My distributor.
Who are you
and whatever they keep in stock, they'll keep a few in stock. But once you get to the bigger loops, they have to be custom made. So, I would, I would plan a job out anyway, so I would wait till I get that bigger loop. But my 6x16 loop or 6x12, whatever size this is my pretty much
And to
standard.
plug on that, so in the planning stage, BD Loops has a calculator online. We call it the Loopulator. It's a loop layout calculator. You just got to know the lane width and type of system, and it will generate you a diagram of placement. It will tell you the part numbers you need. You take that diagram, you go to Control Products, you go to Southwest Automated, you go to one of our distributors, and say, hey, I need an SC2850 for this application. Or I
Gotcha.
need an EL2860. Like that's the purpose of the diagram. And anyone can use that diagram. It's not my product specific, it's loop technology. So you can just go there, get that layout diagram, and you can still hand wrap a loop with that. It's free information for the industry to use.
And what about your sealant on a hand wrap loop? What are you recommending, or can you use it on a hand wrap loop?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's the best stuff to seal loops with. Hand wraps or BD loops.
It's the
And
best.
Yeah,
Robert, is there ever a reason why you would do a hand wrap as opposed to a preform? Do you even do them anymore?
I do not do them no more
Gotcha.
unless I have to. Unless it was like something that was specific size, and I haven't done a hand wrap loop in about 10, 12 years.
Gotcha. That's pretty much all that I do. What's the two colors I assume that there's two colors. I thought that they were just black and gray that you do in your sealant. Can I get custom colors, and what do most distributors stock?
there's black and gray. So
Black and
black for
gray.
asphalt, gray for concrete.
And since I've been here in Las Vegas, I've been using gray. I don't know why. I'm just not going to order black. I use gray, and just to get so you guys are aware, gray after you run over it with blacktop and dirt and all that stuff, nobody's going to notice it.
It's going to match the color of the surface over time, 100%.
Yeah.
This is how it works.
Yeah. I use both
Do you?
because it depends on. Right now I got one to do in concrete at a new house where somebody installed an operator and they use photo eyes to open the gate. So I gotta put in a loop, so I'm cutting it in and I'm using this gray color.
Yeah, and there's no difference in
Sealant here.
formulation. They're both the same formulation as sealant, only difference the pigment.
And how many different loop sealants do you have now? Two. So what's the difference?
Yeah, so the single part, your everyday stuff, the stuff that you're waving tubes around of, that's a 30 fluid ounce tube. That's what you use on like your everyday applications. The other loop sealant we manufacture is called BDLT2. It is a 2-part winter blend quick cure loop sealant. I call it a solution sealant. It can cure in below freezing temperatures. So when it gets cold, that's your sealant go-to. The other advantage is when used in warm weather, it will fully cure in 10 to 15 minutes, which means by the time you pack up your tools, it's done. It's cured.
And
you don't have to worry about rain. You don't have to worry about cars driving over it. It will be
that's
completely cured.
The thing about it, whenever you do one like a mini storage or something like that, and you got a lot of people coming in and out, I mean, they'll make a mess of it real quick. So that quick.
Hey, you can actually use the single part BDLS loop sealant, underfill the groove slightly, and you can open up the lane for traffic immediately after application. And that's one of the benefits of our tubes is you have that sealant tip that gets in there and allows you to get control on your application so you don't make it too high where you get overflow.
You showed us a trick on over there at the Finch University with that loop that we did inside of taking the back of the tube and going over and scooping that out. Any excess. Me personally, I don't ever worry about that. So is it okay for me to just go over not intentionally, but to go over the saw cut like you see here, and if you will, overfill it a little bit without having a problem?
You could, yeah. You can still overfill it a little bit. Just keep in mind it's going to skin over in approximately 45 minutes, and it will continue to gain strength over the next 7 days. So if you got a vehicle that drives over it while it's still curing, the top may skin, but then if you got a bubble sticking up, when a vehicle drives over it, what's under it could still be liquid, and that's what's going to squirt out and make a big mess. So technically you can try to keep vehicles off of it. There's many ways to accomplish that. but it is okay to do it. We'll still work.
Robert, what are you doing like when you cut for the yoke right here? Do you have like a little like, oh, I just know my cut's 11 inches by 2 inches or whatever.
Yeah.
What do you do with the yoke?
I do exactly like that. I always tell them to make it a little bit longer, about a foot, make it a little bit wider for that foot right there, so that
And let's
yoke can go
explain
in.
the benefit of that yoke. What is why do we do it that way?
So you
So on a
can
BD loop, yeah,
adjust it a
go
little
ahead.
bit. So you can
Exactly like that.
adjust it in and out, because you may not get it on the first try. So you may have to
Hmm.
roll it a little bit back and forth a couple inches, and then it'll fit down in there, and then it's easy after that. But
Yeah.
the more you do, the easier it gets. So my guy, I finally got my guys where they can do loops now. They're 21
Hmm.
year old men, young men, and they're
Hmm.
putting in loops. They got 3 to put in, and I'm ready to send them out on their own and do it. So
That's how it's done. Yeah, any BD loop can be up to 4 feet smaller, and that's where you take up that excess, is in that
yeah.
little area where you're dropping your blade twice, and then you take up that excess and you double the amount you reduce. You can always make a preformed saw cut loop up to 4 feet smaller. The cuts do not need to be exact, like a lot of people unfortunately think.
Yeah.
No, that was me up until 2 years ago. I mean, maybe not even
Hmm.
that long ago, because it was in Finch University. Yeah, it was one of the first loops that we did. So it's like 18 months ago, and I've been doing it for 20 years. And that was one of my things is I don't understand how you can't get it how you get it exact. I mean, I got a dude that will ride a saw cut machine like a horse, and he can get it down to an eighth of an inch, the whole freaking thing without zero problems. But what happens when you don't have that ability? So you can make it, what'd you say, 4 feet?
Up to 4 feet smaller. And how
Okay.
you do that is at that yoke point where the loop transitions to the lead in, you just take up that loop excess down your lead in run, laying the wires parallel next to each other right down
Yeah.
that cut that you have right there shown in the picture.
Robert,
And
what do you do? Do
I've
you
done
break
that plenty
this?
of times.
Do you break? Is that just because of a mistake, or you didn't realize that you needed it to be shorter than it was? Or
Well, most of the time it's like I need to get this loop fixed, and we got to get something in there. So you shorten it up like you tighten the um, noose on the rope. You pull it, and then you make it the size you want. Like I said, 4 foot up to four
Yeah,
foot smaller.
you stock 6x12s, but you got to
Mhm.
do a 6x10. You take
Yeah.
up that excess down the lead in run to make that 6x12 into a
Yeah.
6x10.
that might lower the number of parts that you have to have on your truck too. The second
Hmm.
question I
Yeah.
had for you, Robert, was like, what do you do to bust this out? Is it just because it's blacktop, it's just easy to get out, or
I
do you
use my
just actually
saw.
use your saw just to go boom, 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 boom,
Yeah, I
boom?
go back. I just run the saw back and forth and eat it out.
Okay,
Make it
gotcha.
wider, till you get about an inch or inch wide where you can get the yoke in there, and then it's just that simple.
Brian, by the way, we used at the Finch University, we used the 45 tool the other day to cut those two loops. Yeah, you did two loops the other day.
We
We
did
did
too,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, we did a hand wrap in there on one of them first, and then we tore that out and then put BD loops in. Well, one of the things I also think that's important that we fail to understand is this process right here. So the loops are marked and designed a certain way
Hmm.
for this installation. So what's going on here? This was actually at JC Gury.
Hmm.
What's going on here with this loop, and why are we having these people pull it in and out and all that?
Yeah. So, not a lot of guys do their own cutting, so they don't have exact accuracy on, hey, this is the size that was installed. So you want to make sure that your loop lines up with the cuts that were made. Any BD loop has a bend with a red mark, and that red mark is the exact opposite point of where your lead and run starts. It's a reference point. So before you just go shoving in the wire, you start with that red mark on the opposite corner of the yoke where the lead and run starts and position it on top of the groove, just making sure everything lines up. Because if you've got one leg longer than the other, you got to make a little bit of an adjustment. But once you've confirmed all that, you just push it in. And we got tools for that. You can use our pizza wheel to help push it in.
Dang it! That's what I forgot to get a picture of, because everybody asked when they saw that. I don't know if you saw how many comments that one post got with the roller and the little push bar. Yeah, it was like, where do you and then understanding what it is. It's different than a backer rod installer. It's direct. It's made specifically for this. But I thought it was a pretty cool design the way that you did it. You're not sawing the stick. With that, you're actually just use a 3/4 inch piece of PVC, stick it down in the roller, and then you can have the push bar on the other side. So what are those parts called that will help you install this?
The part number is called PR 3/16. The PR short for pizza roller, because that's what it looks like, is a pizza cutter. And it's a piece of plastic. It's not sharp, and it helps push that wire in. And that kit actually contains a lot of useful tools. It's got your pizza roller. It's got your push bar on the other side. It's got a dog ear corner block to quickly mark your dog ear corners. It even has a clean out hook, because you get that stray rock in the groove, and that hook will help clean out that rock that really gets wedged down in there. You attach it to a piece of threaded conduit, metal conduit.
Do you have any of those, Robert? The little pizza roller or that metal bar to help you push down at your corners?
Yeah, and if you can use a flat, what I call flat bar or tension bar off your fence truck too sometimes.
You fencers out there, you figure out one way to do it.
Don't break it. Don't use a screwdriver. Don't use a fence tie. And you gotta be careful. But I got a pizza cutter. It works too. It works great.
Yeah, I have modified screwdrivers directly out of the pawn shop bargain bin that I cut and I make rounded and smooth and all that stuff. But don't use screwdrivers. It'll literally defeat the purpose. As well as right here in this picture right here, don't step on this or your hand wrap loops. They just don't take that chance. Now, because your loops, Brian, have an extra jacket on the outside, they are a lot more durable. But just be cautious of what you're using to install this and what you're using to poke it in. All right, Brian, we're going to give Robert just a little bit of a test right here. Robert, what do you see as far as issues with this install? Can you see it that well?
Yeah, I see. It looks like it's oversized. The loop's oversized or something. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, that's definitely one problem, which is obvious. Do you see another problem with the saw cuts and their length?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I can't hardly make it out, but I mean, it looks like it's just oversized, and maybe the groove's not cut wide enough at the corner. Where they're trying to is that where the yoke is at?
That's where the yoke is at.
Yeah. They needed to make it a little bit wider, I think, right there.
Yeah, well, possibly. Here's the other thing too: is that they didn't cut home run.
They didn't go all the way because you got to go past the line.
Well, and possibly they might have saved themselves here. You can't see the whole picture. Oh, there it is. So it's just dirt over here. There's not a curb. So you do get you do have one thing that you can do here, which is drill a hole at a 45-degree angle from where a little bit closer to the edge of the blacktop, but in essence from here all the way over to the dirt, and you can get that thing 6 inches or so down. In this case, if they did a 45 all the way by drilling a hole, let me make this clear so nobody gets confused. So in the middle of the screen, closer to the top of the screen, there's one saw cut that does not go all the way over to the patch of dirt. That means, you see what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I was a little bit unclear. So with that in mind, this is basically what we're talking about. There's no home run. So the wire does not have any place to go other than on top of the ground, which is unacceptable here. However, in order to protect this wire, what we like to do is get this thing 6, 7, 8 inches below the grade That way, anybody that uses an edger, a weed whacker, or just general construction when you're digging irrigation or stuff, this thing is as far below the ground as we could possibly get. So if someone were to take, I would recommend a 1-inch masonry bit. You're probably going to need one that's 2 feet long, but this will be soft to drill through, and just drill at a good, 35-degree angle all the way over to the dirt. Now, where the home run actually is, and this is another problem. They put a 45 here, but they did not need a 45 here.
No,
in this direction. They needed it in the other direction.
On a hand wrap loop, you need one. If you're hand wrapping a loop, you have to have a 45 there so that you don't put tension on that corner. And just to add some clarification on the saw cut itself, your depth there is about 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches in depth. But the point where you're exiting the roadway, that's where you want to exit your 6 to 8 inches down below, where you're getting your drill, you're drilling down in there. Or if you have a socket machine, you're dropping your blade to exit 6 to 8 inches. Because at that transition point from the roadway into the garden bed or the dirt, you need to go deep enough so that nothing finds it. You don't want to exit just that 1.25 inch depth, because something will find it if you're exiting that shallow.
Yeah.
So in this particular case, Brian, would you, if they did the 45 correct, they had their depth correct and all that good stuff, and then they did a home run, whether it be the way that you just recommended, which is plunge cutting down where it meets the dirt, or possibly drilling a hole, would you still be fine with the yoke being this far away from the loop, from the loop?
Our guidelines, you can make the loop to 4 feet smaller, which that's making 2 foot of loop down the lead and run. What's pictured here is showing a little bit greater than that. I don't have exact testing data. As long as the wires are next to each other, we should have some cancellation. It's not going to create a detectable area there. So wherever the loop is where the field detection is going to be generated. That's really it. Basic loop technology. So on paper, it will work. It will generate a field. It will create a detectable zone.
Well, there's a couple more things I want to talk about, but I'll just really quickly let people know that the tip on these things are designed like that for a reason. However, and this is actually what it looks like, is so you can have sealant coming out of the bottom and somewhat out of the top, just like Robert's showing there, out of the top. And for hand wrap loop, or for like an uneven surface or something like that, you're really going to have to get used to installing it with that tip. However, you can modify the tip. And the other instructional thing about what you have right here, Brian, is do yourself a favor, especially for people who have bad hands like I do, and buy this this cordless caulk gun. I have a Milwaukee one that I use. It's one of the M18 ones, and I've been through 2 or 3 of them. And I think what's interesting about the way this Makita is designed is it looks like that it actually sleeves the whole thing. And if you guys use anything that's got a cardboard tube, you can bust out of the side of those really, really quick, and it'll cost you $190 to get a new gun. Because once you do that, it's really hard to come back from that.
That's why the BD loop tube, the BDLS, is a rigid plastic tube. There are the inferior designed cardboard tubes that are easily puncturable, but these guys are not. That's why we design it that way. So
you guys, if you're interested in what it looks like to modify that, you can go over to Add 2 Smooth Operators on YouTube or Facebook. I think we have it on both places, but YouTube, Add 2 Smooth Operators has all of our videos, for the most part, 99% of them on there. So make sure you subscribe. It definitely helps us do more of these videos and do these podcasts. But if you're interested in what that looks like, modifying the tip, somebody did a stupid video about it.
If you want to have your loop look good, save a little bit of fuel and make it to where your loop can be driven over faster, check out this tip. Hey, what's up? It's Brooks. I think you're asking yourself, why is he in the middle of an alley in Compton, California?
I know part of this video is a little stupid, but just bear with it because it shows you how to modify this tip.
It sounds like I'm getting double.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Same with you, Brian?
Yeah, there's an output sound. Someone has their sound on.
Oh, you know what? It's probably because it's picking up off of my mic as well,
Exactly.
too.
Yep.
So let me see if I mute it, whether you still get audio.
When I'm out on the streets installing gate operators, that's right. You got to keep.
Was that better?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Some of you may carry a big stick. Some of you may carry knife protection. However, I carry a fully loaded cartridge of BD Loops sealant. I want to show you a couple of tips that I use when I'm using BD Loop Shield. First of all, you need to make sure you have a very sharp razor blade. That will allow you to cut this tip off without using your diagonal cutters or something other than a very sharp blade. This could damage the thread. It could damage the shape and the form of the outside of the loop sealant too. Now let me show you how to cut it off. There is a big ridge right there on the top, and I'm going to take my blade just right below that and cut it off. That's going to expose all of the sealant to your brand new uniform. So you don't want to be doing this when you got your short ass jeans on. Make sure that you're using your work clothes. There's a little bit of a trick. If you'll notice that they're cut specifically for this type of application. However, the way that I cut my loops, I like to modify these tips just a little bit to make sure that the sealant flows just to one side. Take you some electrical tape. Now you're ready to cover up the top of that and prevent sealant from flowing out the top. Now, you don't want to put too much electrical tape on there because we're making a very precise cut with our saw blade, so we don't want resistance with this electrical tape up against the side. Now you're ready to start having sealant come out, and you'll notice that it is not coming out of the top. I'm going to apply some sealant to the top of this box, and you'll see that the sealant doesn't come out the top. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Hopefully that lets you get the most out of your BD Loop sealant, and you can make those saw cuts have nice, clean beads in the inside, and make sure they don't get too much on the outside just by doing that one little trick. The deeper the groove, the less likely you'll have to use this tip about the tip. BDLoops.com. Kobe.
Ooh, impressive.
Oh,
man.
yeah. Nice video.
Golly, the guy that did that just wasted 2 minutes and 30 seconds of our time.
You
but
just
anyways,
wasted a whole tube of sealant, too.
Well, I did do that. Thanks to Brian at Las Vegas Fence. He let me do that out there. I also put BD Loops on the ground, so it'll be in sealant there for forever. And you can go look at it. That was gray sealant on blacktop, and you'll see how easily it blends in. Brian, what do you got in the near future for training? And are there any new products or any updates to the website that we need to know about?
Let's start with the website updates. Definitely go and check out the new BD Loops Loopulator. I mentioned it earlier in the podcast. That is a free loop layout calculator. We came out with it just the start of this new year, and it's really good. It tells you where the loop should go, what size they should be. It even prints the information to a PDF that you can print or email to people. In regards to upcoming trainings, I got a lot. There's next week, Control Products St. Louis. They're going to be doing a open house there. You can come meet me in person there. 2 weeks after that, there's going to be ProTech Training, which is an event put on by Control Product Systems Group in Burlingame, California. That's like north of San Jose, south of San Francisco, and just in the Bay Area there. That's going to be a really good 2-day training event. I'm teaching a loop class at that one. Then there's going to be in July another ProTech training in Indianapolis, and also an SAS boot camp in Columbus, also in middle of July 15th and July 16th. But I got about 6 other ones happening throughout this year. Check out our website
Cool.
for all of our different events.
Yeah, we'll have to have you out at some classes that I'm going to do on the East Coast. what was there? There was one other thing. I can't remember what it was. So that's training. And then any new products coming out?
Products? No, just loops. That's what we do. Preformed loops.
Just the loops.
All right. And if anybody has any problem with their knees, they can always, call. Well, I see you in the background there still, Mark. But anyways, I want to thank Mark and Mary for coming on. And if you ever get a chance to go to their facility, I mean, just a really cool old school machines with the new school technology and the actual sign and the ink and the way they do everything to last a long time. And Brian, as always, I appreciate it, man. I'm so glad I got to sit through your class. You also do something that's pretty unique, is that you give your presentation to the students. Which not very many people do. So thank you for all the support at the Finch University while I was a part of it. And thank you for all the support just in the past. So I can't wait to have you at some new classes that we got going on. All right, sure. Mr. Robert, you got anything for us on the outro? Have you just done a new outro for us yet, or what?
I still got one of the old ones for BD Loops, but let me tell you something. If you need a loop, BD Loops got it for you. So BDLoops.com. Thank you for watching another great episode of Two Smooth Operators. Your host, Michael Brooks and Robert Evers, wants to thank Mr. BD Loops himself, Brian Dixon, for coming on the podcast and discussing the product line BD Loops. Thank you, Brian. And stay tuned for another episode next Sunday, 5:30 Pacific time, for Two Smooth Gate Operators.